Hello, everyone, and happy Friday. Welcome to your lighting critique. To start things off, we're going to take a look here at Jordan Jenkins' demo reel. So overall, Jordan, like your work is really, really strong, right? And that's the most important thing. I think there are a few things in the demo reel that we can change that'll help the audience fully understand the work that you're doing. The first thing is that your reel is short. And I'm not saying that problematically. I'm saying it gives us a little more leeway, which is because it's under a minute. Like you can slow down a lot of your transitions and allow the audience to kind of ease through it. Because what you're trying to do, much like in your lighting in your reel, is you're trying to create a mood, and this mood is like a soft, slow pacing that. Is kind of calming and very measured, right? Like I always think of it as anything that moves too fast shows kind of a franticness. I always think about it in terms of dogs. Like the big dog never needs to move that much. He or she can dictate, show confidence just by kind of slowly meandering through the world. And so I always think about that when I'm editing, like nice and slow. Allow your stuff to take a breath. So out of the gate, I think your title's on screen for the right amount of time, but I would slow down the transition to the fade. I would like double its length. Then we're looking at this. I think it's on screen a good amount of time, maybe another beat longer. And then like all of these transitions from here down here, you can slow that down quite a bit. And then, so we have that. These moves are throwing me off because I don't think this is necessary. I think what you should do is you should come in here, zoom out, and make sure you throw in the artist name in the reference, because then it does seem like this is your concept art and this is, I forget the guy's name, but this is someone else's. So just make sure you give credit there, and then zoom back into this finished render, because nobody the beauty render doesn't matter. Right, they just want to see the final work. So that's that would be good there. For this one, I want to start with the camera already moving. Like the fact that we cut to this and then the camera starts moving. I want to see it like I want to cut to it in motion. I would like and I don't know if this happens, but I'd like for it to continue on for a few more frames, like maybe another second or two. If that footage doesn't exist, that's fine. But the biggest thing with this one is don't. By transitioning this to something else that gets lost in the movement, and you don't necessarily want to do that. You don't want to bury it in the move there. So, because I'm trying to think, what are the most important things? So you definitely need the final image. I think you could possibly. Trying to think of how to do this, because you want to show like let's get rid of that move, let's have this, and then you can just like start with a full frame reference, and then go to your lighting, no post process, and then go to the post process, because this move is confusing. So it's just like trying to keep it as simple as possible. So this full screen, and then have that fade into that, both of them full screen. Then that cuts to the next one. You're lighting no post process, and then you can cut to your final with the post process. And then you can start the animation again from there. This one looks good. It's just, I mean, it's perfect. It's just I would just slow down the transitions of the zooms in and zooms out, because like watching this at speed. Try this one again. Doesn't seem to want to play. Anyway, when you do watch it at speed, this transition, I think I said something. Let's see. Yeah. It's just that move is very fast. So it's like double the speed of that transition, and then you're good to go. And then don't fade off at the end. because what you want to do is you want to make your last frame the same as your first frame so that if they loop it, it'll just feel like a natural loop. So that's my main updates on your demo reel. Now let's take a look at some of these still frames. Okay, so let's start with the Jordans. We got Jordan. Actually, I didn't put Jordan. Oh, Jordan. We'll start with Jordan Jenkins and then go over to Jordan Osborne. Between these two, and this is a great way of doing this. Close that. This is what I call A/B testing something. And I like the more glow. A lot more, actually. I think this version is much better overall. I like the softness. I like the photorealism of it. I like the blurring of the edge. I still would want to see a little bit more transmission through these leaves and stuff, just like a little bit more backscatter. And then, let's see, and then increasing the size of these rays so the cutoffs aren't so tight. But between these two iterations, I think the brighter one is much, much better. This is one of my favorite things to do in lighting rounds, is to give a couple iterations of something. Specifically, if only one thing is changing, like it's like a scientific experiment, you're like, how bright should I make this window? And give like 3 iterations of it. It really, really helps get to a final resolution a lot faster. So that's very, very good. All right, Jordan Osborne. For this one, I do, like looking at these, I do think that we could push some more. Whoa, that's not a pen. It's an eraser. That's a different kind of pen. I would push for some more. Why is that being so funny? There we go. I would push for a little more fill light in the fill side of the face. Oh my gosh, it just keeps jumping. Photoshop has been crazy for me lately. I see what's happening there. Yeah, that one, right? Something. Just want smaller. Yeah, that's fine. Whatever. Okay, more fill on the face there. Because I think like in comparing these two, I think that like starting to get some of this definition in there is really, really helpful. I don't think you have to go strong back here. I think where yours is pretty good. Just like a little bit more, just read that jawline just a bit more. Love the shaping coming across here. This backside might be a little bit too bright, but the volumetric rays look a lot better. Jordan Jenkins, this is a type of subsurface backscatter I would look for. Same thing with on those. And then I really like this darkness over here. You've done a really great job of that. And then if you want to put a little more value right in here, just like a little bit more bounce light, that would be cool. But overall, this is looking really, really good. Cat, yeah. So we talked about making these guys a little bit bigger. And then also just making them like one shape. Because like having the multiple shapes is a little strange feeling. And then it sounds like you guys are working on getting some of that. It's in the geometry, I think, right? Because it's still a little bit. What's the word I want? Because it's basically, it looks like low res bump, like a bump with a low resolution texture map. So even if some of that stuff comes out, that'll be a lot better, and that'll help smooth out the textures, or smooth out the shapes, because everything else is looking really good. Love the depth of field on the back shoulder here, and yeah, looking at the shoulder, I think if we could get this shoulder again to get a little bit more rim light on it to match the brightness of that, I think that'll look a lot better. And yeah, all in all, it's looking pretty good. Maybe take down some of the red in the shirt here too, and just allow that to go a little bit darker. Love this shape across here. Really great stuff overall. Nigel, here's your previous version. We've got your update. The darkening of the outside really, really helps a lot. I think that you could potentially go less saturated on that. You can go one of two ways, either less saturated, or you can turn that light back on and just dim it down. But the extreme saturation back there is a little bit distracting. For the light on the characters, I do think we can probably creep it around a little bit more on their faces. I think that'll be helpful, and then to feel it a little more on the top sides of their arms, to really like feel that top down light, because it's a little bit back behind them, so it'll actually creep into some of these places as well. Additionally, I would like to see a little more specularity in the skin. I feel like it's looking a little clay, so it'd be nice to get a little bit more specular highlights in there. And step back on this just a little bit. Yeah, and then some more specular highlights on these side. So like maybe just like a little bit of light picking up on the sides of these. They're good and dark, and so you've got the structure there. Now it's just a matter of getting a little bit of more shaping in there. And then to really plus it, we'll need to see some, because it's kind of dark outside now, we'll start to need to see a reflection pass in that window as well. Perle, huge improvement over the last iteration. Very cool stuff. The biggest thing that I want you to work on now is, let's see, look at this. And this is a really funny one. So underwater, there actually isn't any specularity, which is kind of strange. But for the purpose of this, I do really like the specularity on the character's face. So the two things that I want you to work on is I would like to see the color of this character go a little bit more into like the pure red tones, because it's a little bit it's getting a little bit murky into some of those influenced by some of those cool. So I just want to keep the character like kind of on hero color. And want that to be a little softer. There you go. So like something a little bit more along those lines, just to get her to pop a little bit more. And then I do want, let's see, because I'm trying to figure out ways to make it feel a little bit more underwater. And I think adding a little bit more murkiness and particulates in the water directly behind her would be helpful. And then I would really like try and hit this type of color in the background if you can. Like like way back here, add like an extra layer of depth by like a nice bright cyan color that's almost like a tunnel back there. I think that would help out a lot. And then lastly, I think there's something going on here in these foreground elements where it's like they're kind of blurred and kind of sharp. So it's almost like there's a layer in here that's out of focus, but then there's another layer that's not defocused. So just look into that, because I think having these as a nice defocused foreground would really help out a lot. But the cards look really good. Under this table looks really good. Maybe a little darker under the table, but not too much. And then let me think. Oh, and the other thing that's really nice about these, look at these objects in this scene. Like, notice how they've got like a really nice bright edge to them, and they kind of fade out in the middle. It would be nice if there was a little bit, because we've got the sun coming down, like a little bit more of a light on the edge of these, just to create a little bit more top-down shaping on those guys. I think that would be really cool. But yeah, this one's coming together really well. Huge progress over the last iteration. All right, so that's it for today, everybody. I hope you enjoyed that. If you have any questions at all, please let me know, and I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. All right, happy lighting, everybody.